Drew and
and me
me into the
into the
next
next
life with
life.
Drew and Nick Levitsky. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Drew and Me podcast with returning guest Nick Levitsky.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being on, Nick.
Pleasure to be
Drew?
back.
Drew and Me podcast. We talk about movies, music. Sometimes we do sketches. We're not going to do a sketch today, but we do anything we feel like, any topic. Today we're going to talk about Jared Leto movies and the television show MASH, which is MASH. We're going to talk about MASH. Classic show. Saw it a little bit on TV Land. Really good. Just watching it today. Really, really good. So everyone, check out MASH. But also Jared Leto movies. Nick, do you have any creative projects that you'd like to promote, pump up? Any things you're doing that you want to promote?
Not currently. Right now I'm in between projects.
Okay.
So thank you for asking, but I'm just sort of rolling with it for the moment.
Okay. Totally cool. You can also catch Nick on episodes of our friend Alex Weintraub's podcast, the Flippity Flopcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yeah, I enjoy making appearances on both of those. It's nice to be a guest. I feel bad I'm too lazy to start my own. I feel a little unmotivated.
Nick, I know you pretty well. You really like anime. You should do an anime podcast.
All right, hey, maybe not a bad idea.
That is up to you.
Yeah, I appreciate the thought.
Okay. No. I go through various moods of when I get into anime, and sometimes it depends on just kind of a lot of things but there's a lot of anime out there. There's a
Oh,
lot of fun anime.
yeah, it's a very versatile sort of medium. There are a lot of different little genres and subgenres. A lot more than you would think for some. You wouldn't think that as many, like there's always fantasy stuff, but one subgenre that's surprisingly large is main character either, falls into a portal or dies or something and ends up in a fantasy world. As opposed to just a straight fantasy series. Now you have every man in a fantasy world, and that's its own little subgenre that's also surprisingly large. So
would you be able to share an example?
they're a good amount. It's kind of funny, pardon me, that people have said that there are examples in American media all the time. People have said Space Jam is almost an example of one.
Ooh.
But there's one called ReZero, which is, the first one that I'd ever seen, where the main character very abruptly just sort of, vanishes, gets pulled into it, seemingly out of nowhere. And another one that I started recently called Jobless Reincarnation, where a main character gets hit by a truck and wakes up being born as a baby in a fantasy universe. So two very different ones. One, a main character is literally just yanked from his world and plopped down, wearing the same clothes and everything, just in a fantasy universe. And the other, a main character has a full-on reincarnation, death and rebirth and all in another one. So it really depends. And one that's a little more popular, that's, I guess it still counts, is Sword Art Online, which is a really big one. That's and that's just the main character becomes he's trapped in a video game, but it's a very similar sort of thing, just main character trapped in a fantasy video game. So there's a wide berth of ways to play with it, but it's remarkable how many there are as just this subgenre of fantasy.
Can you say the title of the last one for me?
Sword Art Online.
Ooh. Okay. Very cool. They seem really fun.
They're certainly odd. It's definitely not for anybody. It's definitely not for everybody. If you like anime, you'll probably like them, but everyone's different. So
okay. Or sometimes you
apologies
have,
if it's not to everyone's taste.
or sometimes you just have to be in the right mood, and you
Sure.
have to like be able to approach it in like a lighthearted way. Like,
Mhm.
well, I guess the type of thing, if you're like in a really heavy mood, like maybe you shouldn't watch Death Note or something like that, because it's pretty heavy. So it depends. Or maybe if you're in a really bad mood, maybe it'll pick you up. I honestly don't know. People with very odd sensibilities, or very different sensibilities when it comes to uh pop culture preferences and media preferences, and like things that they receive in their brain. So what cheers one person up could depress someone. What depresses one person could cheer someone up. So it's really weird. And so if it's for you, awesome. If it's not, but like Nick was saying, there's tons of anime out there and there's tons of options. So you can like deep dive in anime and still be swimming. Like you can go deeper. Like it's pretty endless. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, rabbit holes getting into and anime are pretty fun. Yeah, they're fun. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So that was cool. Jared Leto movies. Let's open with a Jared Leto movie. Any Jared Leto movie you want, Nick. Anyone
Okay.
you want.
Well, I'm trying to think of the first time that I saw Jared Leto. It was probably, without even realizing who he was, in Fight Club, which,
Mm.
even going back and watching Fight Club now, I feel like I still wouldn't have recognized him. Uh, just because he looks very what I'm trying to remember what his name was, not Angel Face or something like that, because he
Yup.
was just
Yup.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was just a good-looking guy, blonde spiked hair, and I would not have picked up on who he was, and probably still wouldn't now seeing it. And it's a comparatively bit role in the grand scheme of it, because I don't think he
Yeah.
has nearly as much of a role as even Meatloaf in the movie.
No. You see a lot more of Meatloaf, Robert Paulson, than you
Mhm.
do Angel Face. But there's some good Angel Face scenes during like the ambush of like the officials. Afterwards, Brad Pitt touches Angel Face's hair. Like he like strokes his hair, and like that's a pretty big deal. Like to get your hair stroked by Brad Pitt. Like very few people can say that. So he's
Mhm.
on a short list.
Yeah.
but that was like affection and like brotherhood and warmth. And even though Project Mayhem is pretty vile, there was still like brotherhood and unity, and you can think about positives to it. So brotherhood and unity. Yeah, the Angel Face character, he seems like he has some pretty rough edges. If you're curious to what Jared Leto looks like when he's performing in 30 Seconds to Mars, or when he's doing something 30 Seconds to Mars related, Angel Face might be a good kind of palate cleanser to the type of person, because he's different in a lot of different things, and it depends which mode he's in. Not that he's like the character, but his disposition or how he carries himself. Or I've seen in a few interviews and like maybe a video or two of him like on stage, that seems like the 30 Seconds to Mars motif is like Angel Face. So that's just how I perceive it. But he's so versatile, and like
oh, absolutely,
he's different in so many different things. And like other gifted actors like Joaquin Phoenix, he's flirted with leaving acting altogether multiple times, and he says like some performances are really draining and he's not sure if he'll do another one, but he always does because he loves acting. So and he's a really good actor. Like he's super gifted. Like if we're talking about like best actors ever, probably in the top 20. Like,
oh wow, you think so?
Yeah.
All right.
Angel Face. Yeah, that character kind of gets the shaft in a few scenes too, which sucks.
I mean, not a lot of characters make out great in Fight Club.
No. I guess kind of an extended metaphor for Project Mayhem doesn't really work. But it's such a good movie, and there's so many different things you can pull apart from it, and it's a few different movies, and anything David Fincher is going to be very big, very fast, very very big, very vast, very stylized, usually pretty philosophical. Curious Case, Benjamin Button, very philosophical. Fight Club, very philosophical. The Social Network, very philosophical. So those are a few examples. Gone Girl, which I think is David Fincher's best movie, also very philosophical.
Oh,
very existential.
I forgot that was David Fincher. I also forgot that Benjamin Button was Fincher. But yeah, those are
also Brad Pitt. Okay.
Yeah, oh man, Gone Girl was that was something. Jeez.
Gone Girl, probably one of the best movies I've ever seen.
That's a really solid movie.
Yeah, especially for its runtime, because it's pretty robust runtime. It's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, like 2:30, 2:40. And when you get into a runtime that robust, you really have to have something really, really compelling for people to be sustainably into it for like one sitting, because you could break it up into 2 sittings and it would probably still be good, but it's a movie that can definitely hold your attention for the entire duration, and that's a testament to what a good filmmaker Dave Fincher is. And how good the movie is. And you have Ben Affleck, who's awesome, and a lot of other really talented actors. Tyler Perry's in the movie, and he's excellent in the movie. It's a really good Tyler Perry performance. He's very smart. He's a really smart dude. He's probably written a few books. I should probably read one. Yeah. But getting back to Jared Leto, okay, because this is the Leto episode, okay.
What was the first thing you saw him in? Was it also Fight Club or?
Maybe the TV show or My So-Called Life.
Okay.
Have you seen My So-Called Life?
Not really. I don't know if I've actually heard of that one.
Mm. I think it was on ABC. Long time ago in the 90s. I just kind of watched like reruns of it. It's good, like coming of age with like Claire Danes, and Jared Leto is the male love interest, and he's awesome in the show. He's really good. Um, yeah, that was one of like his first things. I probably saw the show when I was like 6.
Okay.
It was a really long time ago.
Wow,
So
yeah.
I had early Leto exposure. So it's probably another
Okay.
reason why I really like him. So yeah. Saw a little bit of Requiem for a Dream, really freaked me out, so haven't really watched it again. Um,
That's a movie I've been meaning to watch for
okay.
years, and it's one of those that I don't. I feel like no one's ever really in the mood to watch it, knowing what an intense movie it is. No one's ever like, "Oh, we should sit down and watch Requiem for a Dream." Like no one wants to do that. It's one of those things where you need to be in a. You need to set aside time for a somber occasion and just say, "All right, well, yeah, we're finally prepared to do this to ourselves." Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Also depends how you look at it. I might try watching it without the sound on.
Really?
Yeah, might try that. Because something about it really freaked me out. I'm not sure what it was. Probably a combination of the music and how it was edited, and kind of a dark
Okay.
palette. But without the sound, it would probably leave less of a sting. So I'd probably be able to watch it without like psychological ramifications. Okay.
All right. So like subtitles, see how that goes.
Sure. Um, yeah, I might.
All right.
It's a really good movie though, and
Oh
like
yeah.
so like well renowned and prestigious, and Darren Aronofsky, and Marlon Wayans, who is really good in the movie too. Yeah, he's awesome. I want to highlight that performance. He's really good in that.
Yeah.
Um, Love interest is Jennifer Connelly, who is always good. Have you seen A
Hmm.
Beautiful Mind?
I have seen A Beautiful Mind. Yeah.
She's great in it.
Hmm. Oh yeah. And funny enough, because I also saw her in Labyrinth, and I don't know why the thought occurred to me. I'm not sure if I stole this idea from something. The thought occurred to me that if you're going to try and reboot Labyrinth, I feel like Jared Leto wouldn't be a bad Goblin King for that.
um,
Maybe I don't know why I thought, oh, Jared Leto,
ooh,
Goblin King, and I don't know
musician
what.
like David Bowie. He's a
Yeah,
musician.
there you. Maybe that's part of it,
That
but
actually works well.
yeah, works pretty decently. But
I can
because
see
I
being a
was,
good fit.
oh yeah, sorry.
Oh no no no. Um, Maybe a little bit lighter and goofier than like Joker, because I feel like Joker's dark. So
Yeah, that's a dark role.
I feel like maybe lighter and goofier, like maybe like the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, like maybe more Johnny Depp. Okay.
Hmm. So after seeing him in Fight Club, I
Yes.
feel like my I know him from a good amount. Like I know that he was in Requiem for a Dream, but I feel like I haven't seen him in much. Because after that, what am I thinking? There was another smaller role that I saw him in, and then I saw him in Lord of War,
I've also seen that.
hmm which compared to all of his other roles is comparatively a pretty mild role. He's very much kind of a straight man character to Nicolas Cage.
who is not a straight man to Nicolas Cage?
That's fair. Usually anyone acting alongside Nicolas Cage is the straight man character. But while I haven't seen the movie in full of the Suicide Squad, I have seen the footage of him in it, the clips where he plays the Joker, since he doesn't have a tremendous amount of time in the movie. And recently, just before this, I ended up watching Dallas Buyers Club, which that was an Oscar performance, right? He did win for that.
Yup, got supporting actor. Matthew McConaughey got main actor.
Oh, they both won.
Yup, they both won. Jean Villay was the director. And it is a really good movie. I
really
rewatched
solid.
it. Yeah, I rewatched it too, and it's very art house. Very like things just kind of happen, but it's very raw and very real. Like it's a very real movie, which a testament to what a good director Jean Villay is. Because like that movie did a number on me. It's so good, and Jared Leto is really good in that too. But you can see how he is Rayon in it. He's very, very different from like Angel Face or who he plays in Lord of War. It's a very, very different character, very different performance. You see the versatility in that. Definitely a well-deserved Oscar.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his performance in that. Overall, it was a very solid movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how long it would have taken me to recognize him as Rayon in the movie, because I feel like there's a look I expect for Jared Leto, and then so seeing him as Rayon, I would have been like, oh well, that's who, and it would have taken me I don't know how many minutes to finally just click in. Like that's one of those movies I would watch if I were watching with other people. I would annoy them half an hour into the movie saying, oh my god, it's Jared Leto, just screaming it out loud in the middle of the watching.
Oh man. And I think it works very well on a singular level, like very singularly. Like I don't think Dallas Buyers Club needs a sequel or
oh god,
probably a mini series. Actually, it does need a mini series because it's a topic that's not discussed enough. So it does need a mini series. So the answer to that question is it needs a mini series.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a topic that's in need. It's a genre that's in need. It's very underrepresented. So because it's underrepresented, we need more of it. LGBTQ, the LGBTQ genre is gaining a lot of steam though, and it's getting strengthened, and there's a lot more of it out there than there used to be, and that's wonderful. Because it gets people over biases, and we get exposed to different things, and that's good. It's very positive. I love that there's a lot more LGBTQ content out there. I think it's wonderful. Dallas Buyers Club, I would consider it an LGBTQ movie. But
absolutely.
I wouldn't pigeonhole it in one genre though. I think it's a lot of movies.
It's what I guess sort of historical drama kind of, since it is based on true events at least.
Yeah, Ron Woodruff was a real dude, and it's like the origin. It's like a biographical depiction of Ron Woodruff. Um, so like you were saying, it is based on true events. It is a real thing. So it's kind of historical fiction, and also um, uh, uh, historical fiction, LGBTQ, mm, crime drama, uh,
Yeah, yeah, true.
thriller to an extent. Um, yeah, there's it checks a lot of boxes. And it's a great movie going experience. I feel like they could re-release it in theaters, and it could do fairly well. Um, yeah, but Jared Leto, excellent in the movie, got an Academy Award. He might get another one day. I think he could go for two.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I'd completely like he's so versatile in so many roles that I was so shocked when I saw posters for House of Gucci and
Yeah.
saw him looking just because yeah, he really does not quite to like Gary Oldman levels, but I feel like whenever they say, I don't know, can we put some makeup on you to make you look different? He says, yeah, I don't want to look like me. Just make me look like a different dude. Because, yeah, he looks like just a super old Italian guy in House of Gucci. So it was pretty funny to see what he looked like. And when my father looked at it, I had to pull up a picture to show him what Jared Leto normally looked like too. But yeah, the transformations are very cool. Um, I sorry, I ended up looking it up a little further and I completely forgot that I'd seen him in Panic Room and American Psycho. How could I forget he was Paul Allen in American Psycho?
Oh, not seen either of those movies.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I for films that kind of wrenching, I'm kind of less. I kind of have a weak stomach for those. I would probably get nightmares, and it would really freak me out. um,
I'd honestly be curious because Panic Room is very much a thriller of a movie,
okay.
but I'd be curious to know your thoughts on American Psycho because I had a very different idea of what American Psycho would be until I met people who started telling me about it. Like one of my friends who worked as a banker loves American Psycho, you know, because it's about a stocks guy. And it's honestly, I guess the best way to describe it would be imagine of one of the darkest comedies you've ever seen. Because him, it's not like Psycho. It's not like you're following a murderer doing this, you know, and it's barely about the murders, which is such a weird way to describe it. It's more about watching what a complete mess of a person, and I guess by association, how much of a mess everyone else around, like Patrick Bateman and you know all of these other bankers who are working, or these stocks guys who are working with him are. It's not quite. I mean, it is amusing, not in a very darkly funny sort of way, how much of a mess all of these people are, to the point where just you're like, wait, what happened? You know, you're like, oh, he all right, and then he killed a guy. What happened to the body? Like it's barely crossing your mind as you're just watching him just be this weird, almost caricature of himself. I'm doing a terrible job describing it. I feel like you need to watch it at some point because it's not even a thriller in the way that you're watching it. So I would recommend it. I don't think I would say you shouldn't be afraid of it if you're worried about it being a very tense sort of like, oh, like, is he going to, what's going to happen to the people around him? Like, it won't be tense in the way you're thinking it'll be tense, I don't think. Unless I just have problems, and I probably should have been reading it that way. But
Okay. I've heard it interpreted as a dark comedy. That I have heard it interpreted. So if you think about it that way, it probably makes it a little bit easier to kind of digest. What is Jared Leto's role in that movie?
so Jared Leto plays Paul Allen, who is sort of a rival investor, I feel like. I feel like the two of them are sort of, they kind of butt heads and they don't really get along all that well. And so he's probably he's not, you know, not the secondary character or anything like that. Their rivalry isn't really the biggest part of the movie, but it does play a decent chunk, and it sets up other stuff later in the movie. So it's one of those things where I thought, wait, why didn't I remember he was in it? Oh right, like you'll see. So
Oh, so it's not like a signature Jared Leto performance.
no, he plays, I guess, not quite a mirror version of Christian Bale's character, but I guess he plays a much more normal sort of uh a much more normal character in terms of just, he's clearly not as, everything runs off him like Bateman is. He's a lot more of a normal kind of guy for whatever that's worth in the setting.
Hmm. Um, uh, I got you. So it sounds like he's a pretty redeemable character in the movie.
Decently redeemable, yeah.
All right, there it is. Awesome.
hmm And I'm not sure if you've seen Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's
Oh, he is in that. He's the
uh-huh.
villain in that. He's pretty unrecognizable. With what you were saying about the makeup, that sounds like he's wearing a lot of makeup in that movie. There's a lot of CGI.
There is a decent, well, there's a lot of CGI in the movie. I feel like Jared Leto is very Jared Leto in that movie, in Blade Runner,
Mm,
because he has the long hair and everything. He has, if memory serves, he has kind of like whited out eyes a little,
he
I recall.
does. He does. You're right.
But I feel like that was him. It was very odd compared to the first Blade Runner, because instead of, a much more grounded corporate type like in the original Blade Runner,
Mhm.
he's a lot more spacey, I feel like he's very out of it and very sort of I don't want to say high, but you know, speaks very slowly, speaks in this sort of almost like he's trying to wax poetic whenever he's talking to anybody. So I thought that was so odd compared to the old one, and I thought it was I'm trying to remember which person was talking about the movie. I think it was Movie Bob online who said, and Jared
Okay.
Leto is here as a rich eccentric weirdo, but I repeat myself, which I thought was kind of a funny way to describe it.
Um. Um. That is interesting. Yeah, so check out Blade Runner 2049 if you want to see one of Jared Leto's many versatile performances and a different Jared Leto. And check out uh and check out movie Bob. Um yeah. No, but I'm thrilled that Jared Leto is going to be in a superhero movie.
Mhm.
That he's gonna be in Morbius, I think is really cool. Because he's definitely like the type of actor that's like made for a superhero movie, and um, just like if the trailer is any indicator, it's gonna fit him like a glove. Like it's gonna be a really smooth fit, and from the trailer, it gave me a Doctor Strange type feel to it. And Doctor Strange, I think, was one of the strongest Marvel movies in the MCU. I put Doctor Strange in like top 3 Marvel movies ever.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
one of my favorites. I really like it. I think it's really compelling, and I feel like Morbius has a similar feel, in some regards, in that they are both doctors. So
Okay. Yeah.
you get that, and then there's a few other things, but maybe even how it's shot to an extent, or at least how it's depicted in the trailer. Like I see similarities, but with Doctor Strange, like it's almost like 2 completely different movies. Like when he is the Doctor, um, and then when he becomes like the superhero later, and it goes into like a completely different universe, and he meets Tilda Swinton, and they hang out. It's cool. Okay. um, uh, uh, and Rachel McAdams is in the movie a lot, and she's awesome. I don't know who the love interest is in Morbius. I actually don't know who else is in it aside from Jared Leto.
I'm trying to think because I've watched the trailer.
It's
I
really
can't
good.
remember who the other stars are in it. But if I'm being honest, I'm actually not super excited for Morbius. And I don't know if it's because I feel like I've reached kind of a threshold on Marvel stuff, or it's because I've seen other vampire movies before that, and maybe it's a combination of the two. I don't know. As much as I like Jared Leto, I don't quite feel the same draw for other. It seems, and maybe it's also the trailer that I watched makes it seem almost like a movie that would have come out like after Blade 2.
Ooh.
It seems, kind of an old school sort of vampire movie that I'm kind of surprised that they're doing now. So I don't know, maybe if that's my impression of it, but
Um, haven't seen the new Spider-Man. Have you seen the new Spider-Man?
I haven't either actually. I've blown a lot of I haven't even seen Black Widow yet, so I'm a little
Ooh.
behind.
I technically haven't seen Black Widow either. I've seen bits and pieces because I work in a movie theater. So working in a
Oh,
movie
okay.
theater, you do get to see like parts of the movie, and you would really like Black Widow.
Okay.
You would like it. Stranger Things, David Harbour, wonderful. You would like it. Um, uh, and Scarlett Johansson's also awesome. Florence Pugh is wonderful.
Mhm.
It's a really solid movie. Um, getting back to your point of why they're doing Morbius now, from the trailer, I really got Doctor Strange vibes from it, and there there's a Doctor Strange 2 coming out soon, I think, and I think that might be a reason like they might want to release them at similar points, to kind of build the genre or build the brand or build the MCU kind of in that way. So I could see them going hand in hand, and they're similar movies, so I think they'll probably both do well. I know Morbius was supposed to come out a while ago, or they had to kind of tinker and like retool it a bit, but yeah, I'm really excited for it. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, they pushed it back to April or something. I know it just got pushed back again.
Oh, so it's not coming out in January.
No, it recently got dialed back again.
Oh, crap. All right.
Yeah, unfortunate.
I was all excited to go see it in like
Oh,
2
sorry.
weeks. That's okay. I'll see it in April. um uh, um yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but everything gets pushed back now. That's just where we are with
Yeah.
everything. But for everyone listening, see Morbius. But also going to think of it, you get to see a different Jared Leto than you don't always see. So that's cool.
Yeah. Have you seen 30 Seconds to Mars in concert?
I
And I
haven't.
guess also, do you like listen to 30 Seconds to Mars, I guess is the
Um,
question.
I listen to Radio 104.5 a lot.
Okay.
Or yeah, I um I listen to it a lot. Um, and 30 Seconds to Mars used to be a big band. They used to play on there a lot. They used to frequent it. So I've heard a lot of singles. I have not seen them in concert though.
Okay. I think it was a little more than 3 years ago at this point that I did see, I think 3.5, I saw them in concert, and I guess it was kind of unfortunate. It wasn't my favorite concert that I'd been to because it was a larger musical festival. There were a lot of different bands there. There was Mr. Wives, Churches were there, was there? I forget. But 30 Seconds to Mars was the headliner. And I was a little bit, I guess, disappointed because there were a lot of points in the performance that Jared Leto would just kind of, stop and take it easy. Like during This Is War, there's, there's to the right, to the left, we'll fight to the death. And he would say, to the right, and hold out the microphone to the crowd. So he was singing only half of the chorus, which I thought, I get what you're doing, but I would like you to perform all of the song. Which, I mean, he's free to incorporate the crowd however he wants. And maybe it was also because I was so far back. I was on the lawn seating of this large arena that I wasn't quite feeling it the same way. But there was also an extended period where he got a lot of people up from the audience onto the stage with him to dance with him that, while it's nice to engage other people, I feel like took a lot of energy out of the performance also. So, and he was also dressed, he was dressed very not really all that godly, but he had kind of a, dressed like some sort of new age prophet, sort of, long flowing clothes sort of thing. So It was unfortunate because I did want to see them in concert, but it was definitely wasn't my favorite performance.
Okay. Sounds like you should go to another show.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure how much they're performing, how much anyone's performing really, but
Yeah. You know, you gotta have positivity, you gotta have faith. A lot of bands do stream digitally, so you can check out a digital stream and you can check them out, which would be great because 30 Seconds to Mars is a really good band. If you're into Rise Against, you'll probably like 30 Seconds to Mars. Yeah. And Jared Leto also really talented and musician, actor, entrepreneur. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot going for him.
Good investor. Yeah. Really good investor. Very smart with stocks. Has made some really good investments. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. No. So everyone listening, go see 30 Seconds to Mars. You will have fun. They're a good band, and they're really fun live. I feel like Jared Leto could do a lot of really good voiceover.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I don't think he's done a lot of voice work.
He could.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Um. Hmm. Uh. So Nick, what do you think? Because we both really like Silver Sun pickups. We've both been to concerts for them together. I feel like a Silver Sun pickup 30 Seconds to Mars show would be pretty solid.
Oh yeah, I feel like that would definitely attract. They definitely have overlapping audiences, so I feel like that would make sense. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'd be interested in that.
And I feel like Brian O'Bear and Jared Leto are similar singers too. Like they have very similar octave ranges. Both of them can hit in intensely high notes. Um, like notes that are pretty unhittable. So like both of them have like really big ranges. Same with uh the band's name is escaping me right now, but the band who does they do Sail. Who
Oh,
does Sail?
AWOL Nation.
AWOL Nation. Okay. That lead singer can hit a lot of big notes too.
Oh yeah. Oh no
And
doubt.
they're really they're really good live and they take the performances really seriously. They take fans really seriously. They're very dedicated. Definitely all three of those bands. Check them out. AWOL Nation, Silver Sun Pickups. Um, uh, 30 Seconds to Mars. Jared Leto. Check it out. Jared Leto's brother is also in the band too,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
really talented. Really, really talented. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Okay. So, is there any more Leto to go, or do we want to move on to Mash?
I don't know. I think we covered a pretty wide berth of topics for Jared Leto.
Okay. There's probably a few movies we missed. There's Mr. Nobody, which I haven't seen. So
Oh, all right. I haven't seen it either, so I was curious if you had any comments about it. I I have seen Panic Room, but if I'm honest, I do not remember much about Panic Room other than Jodie Foster and Forrest Whitaker. That's all I got from that.
I've heard it's a really good Jodie Foster performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very intense movie, but I unfortunately I cannot remember anything about Jared Leto in that.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So check out Jared Leto in House of Gucci and Morbius. Have you seen House of Gucci, Nick?
I have not.
Okay. It's been pretty popular. I work in a movie theater, and a lot of people have been coming to see it, and that's cool. So, this episode's being taped at at January 9th, and House of Gucci is still in theaters. So, check out House of Gucci. Yeah. Probably don't take your kids to see it, but
Oh yeah, probably not a great idea. Bring him to
but
Spider-Man instead, I guess.
yeah, a lot of little kids have been going to Spider-Man actually, which if they're with their parents, it's probably fine. Parent or trusted adult, it's probably fine. So, um, um, oh boy, um, um, yeah, uh, okay, yeah. See House Gucci, Morbius when it comes out. I think people should see it. Okay. Okay, so MASH, very popular TV show in its day. Alan Alda, David Ogden Stiers, other very famous and prolific actors. It's a really great cast. There's a few actresses I can't remember. There's an actress, I think she's in Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield. I think she's in MASH. Can't remember her name right now, but it's a really good show. Uh, I I've been watching it for the first time like today, and you can get into it. For everyone listening and watching, if you've seen WKRP, Cincinnati, or Gilligan's Island, very kind of similar sense of humor. The Mary Tyler Moore Show. If you've seen Mary Tyler Moore, very similar sense of humor. Or if you've seen WandaVision, there's some similarities in that too. Yeah, so if you like WandaVision, you might like MASH. Yeah, so we're going to talk about favorite MASH characters. So let's do 3. Nick, who is your third favorite MASH character?
Third favorite.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Third favorite, I'd probably have to go with Colonel. It's close, but probably Colonel Potter.
Okay.
Played by Harry Morgan, who he shows up a little later in the series. He's the replacement for who was it? It was Colonel Blake.
Ooh.
And so when Colonel Blake finally gets to go home, then Colonel Potter takes over, and he's Whereas Blake was a little more of a, come on, guys, sort of commanding officer when it came to everyone else. Colonel Potter is a lot more of a, he comes in thinking like, no, none of this is going to do, straight by the numbers. And you'd think that would clash, but they find this sort of, middle ground where he's still able to keep things running fairly smoothly. Everything evens out pretty nicely with him and the goofier characters, and I think they play off of each other really well. He has a couple of great lines. I think he's a lot of fun. He was even when I was younger and I wasn't really that fond of people who boss you around. I thought Colonel Potter was a very cool authority figure.
Awesome. I've only seen a few episodes of season 1. So I don't think I've gotten to Colonel Potter yet, but he sounds really cool.
It was actually sort of surprising because I would actually watch MASH when I would get home from school. My brother and I would go downstairs and get cookies and milk and watch that or Law and Order. And so we watched probably about half of all of MASH. It's a really long running show. And one thing that surprised us is when we started watching, we saw a lot of the later episodes first. So we were actually introduced to Potter even before Blake. And what surprised us was in one episode earlier on in the show, Harry Morgan shows up as a completely different character in the show. He shows up as this very, very rough, even rougher by the numbers than the character he shows up as later, who tries to sort of change things up in the mobile hospital that they're in and really start messing with the status quo. So he wants the hospital to move locations and things like that. He wants, the way that they have it set up in the show at the time, he just completely wants to change it. So he butts heads with a lot of people, and they end up trying to get him right the hell out of there, all the characters together. And so it was kind of surprising to see him show up as almost an out-and-out antagonist earlier on in the series, and then see him as this very, very reasonable fatherly authority figure showing up later on in the show.
That's cool. It's awesome when characters like that, they get a good arc. They have like a positive outcome, or they're dynamic. They change, they evolve over time. Like, I think that's awesome. So Colonel Potter, we salute you. You're cool.
How about you? You have a number 3?
Oh, my number 3. Let's see. Radio O'Reilly. Yeah. He's fun. He's fun.
He actually, I don't know, I feel like I should have switched it. He was actually my number 2, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love Radar.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
For what?
Radar O'Reilly. Cool. Yeah. I grew up on a lot of Winnie the Pooh, and he reminds me of the actor who played Piglet on Winnie the Pooh. They seem pretty similar. Which just kind of like this nice, like, shy guy who has like a heart of gold and like tried to be like a people pleaser, and like, they play their role and they do their job and they're nice, you know. So there is something like very pure and innocent about him, but also there's something very subtly not, there's more to him. There's a lot going on there. Like you feel like he could have easily been a villain too. Like he could be a villain.
Yeah, I could definitely see that sort of the snide, like spying on them for the commanding officer, sort of a character.
Yeah. But he's on the right side, so that's cool.
Yeah, there are a lot of really cool characters that have a good amount of depth to them in the show. Like I do like oh, why am I having I know he's played by Jamie Farr. Oh, what's his Oh my God. Why am I having such a time with this? It's not Kramer, it's he's the one who's always trying to get them to say that he's crazy. I need to look this up. This is going to drive me absolutely nuts. Jamie Farr played Klinger. That's who it was. Corporal Klinger.
Yeah.
And he, like another very memorable character who just his big goal is to just get Section 9 from the army and have everyone think he's insane. But it just after a while it just runs off everyone else like water. No one cares. A few episodes in, like whatever. He's like such a cool, memorable character. I do really enjoy, and Loretta Swit as a Houlihan is also like a very, she's one of the more strict characters who's, I guess, a little more antagonistic. Her and Blake. Sorry, her and Burns in the very beginning.
Okay.
But how about you for number 2? Since we overrode each other on that. I'm sorry, I went off. I should have just let you talk more.
No. I'm still I'm still pretty new to MASH. Like I'm still kind of a MASH novice. Which is awesome that you know the show really well. Like it's awesome that like you're well versed in it. You're like a MASH aficionado. I'm a novice, so we kind of have that good dichotomy. Like I'm coming into it for the first time, but you've seen it a few times, so I think that's really cool. Yeah. Ooh, number 2 would be Hawkeye.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Just really funny.
He is. He's honestly just fantastic. The gags that he and Trapper pull off are just it is hilarious, and I feel like they do a good job of not making him too insufferable.
No, he has a lot of redeeming qualities.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And he does seem like a real person. Like as hammy and over the top as he is, he's still a real human being, and he still has a heart and a soul, and you see that, and I think that's awesome. Like he is very real, and I like that, and like some more sobering stuff, but it's a show with a very heavy topic, and it's a very sobering show, but they bring a light touch to it, and Alan Alda brings such a light touch to Hawkeye, and I think that's something that does make the show really work.
Yeah, having a main character as with a with humor as a coping mechanism in a time of war, I feel like is a very appropriate sort of thing, since a lot of the characters have their own thing that really gets them through it.
Okay.
So it's, yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel like that makes the dramatic moments count a little more. They punch a little harder if your main character is, joking and laughing all the time and has the occasional hard cut to something more dramatic.
Yeah. um. Yeah. Oh boy. Um. um, hmm. Yeah. No. Yeah. But Hawkeye, you get the full spectrum. You get laughs, you get sobering moments, you get anger. I feel like you get the full range. You get the whole. Like he's not one note; he's a few different notes.
Mhm.
So you get like the whole package deal, and he's definitely like a type of character that can carry a show, and he did. So it's awesome. Um,
Mhm.
is he in the show, the whole show, like throughout? Is he from episode 1 to the last episode?
Hawkeye?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He's the main character throughout.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, by the way, because I hadn't even thought to ask. I already told you that Colonel Blake leaves. Would you rather I not spoil how many characters stick around? Because there is another character who I'm going
Um.
to address who does leave.
Uh. Um. 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 No.
Okay.
That's totally fine. I'll, I'll probably jump around or watch episodes here and there. So I probably won't watch in like a strict order. So uh the sequence probably isn't like super important. And as far as like spoilers go, I don't usually mind spoilers too much. So
Mhm.
yeah, like I guess I'm more about the journey than I am the destination. Like
Okay.
I'm more about the process and how you get there than what the outcome is. So uh just like knowing that things happen or characters are in the show, like uh yeah. Yeah. So if you want to talk about characters from later seasons, that's totally cool.
Okay.
Um did you want to talk about another one from later season right now?
Yes. So that's my number one where I
Ooh.
was leading to. Uh, so my number one is someone who comes in later on and is something of an antagonist. Is Charles Winchester, played by David Ogden Stiers, or he would call himself Charles Emerson Winchester III. And that's something when I'm having trouble remembering some characters' names, I still remember his full name. But he comes in as this sort of big shot hoity-toity surgeon who kind of looks down his nose at what they call meatball surgery that they do at MASH, because they do very like quick, like get it done, get him out sort of surgery, whereas he is far more used to. He was sent there almost as a punishment, and so he's a very fancy guy who gets sent there, and he plays so well off of the other characters simply because he's almost, I feel like in another series, he would be the main character. Like he's this very fish out of water kind of guy who has to deal with a bunch of goofballs and a bunch of guys who, oh, these guys don't know anything about proper surgery. And so he gets his own mini character arc trying to like fall in line, relearn how to do surgery at a faster pace and things like that. And I think one reason that I might like him is because he's actually a bit of a replacement for Frank Burns, who Frank Burns is the bad guy. Well, yeah, bad guy in earlier seasons who later transfers out. And one of the things is after a while, there's this weird sort of I'm not the only one who's noticed it because Frank Burns started to become less of a real character in MASH. He started becoming a lot more cartoonishly antagonistic. Not only that, he would also become kind of stupid. Like he would fall for like obvious setups and things of the sort. And so one episode in particular sticks out to me when they are out in a bus and the bus breaks down. And I believe it's Hawkeye and Trapper and Frank. I don't remember if Radar is with them also, but a North Korean defector comes up to them, like hands raised, and Frank can't wrap his head around the fact that this guy is surrendering to them. And the guy's wounded. He's bleeding. And so they say, well, get him inside. The guy's bleeding. And Frank says, I don't know, man. It might be a trick. And Trapper says, yeah, Frank, I'm sure the guy cut himself open and put a grenade inside it or something just to fool us. And Frank says, boy, are they clever. And there's the laugh track that goes off, and I thought, why are people laughing at this? Isn't anyone worried about Frank? What is happening with Frank right now? And so it seemed like Frank was just becoming like just a cartoonish jerk the longer the show went on. And then they switch him out for this, this British guy who I think just does a fantastic job. He's also, what is it? He's not a suck up to Colonel Potter or anything like that. And he and Colonel Potter definitely butt heads on a few things. But he has Winchester has one of my favorite, I guess two of my favorite moments in the entire series. I don't know if you care about spoilers for it, but so there's one scene in which a band comes in, and Winchester has, he's one of those don't touch my stuff kind of guys. He has a record player and everything, and he hates when people mess with it. Stick to your side of the tent kind of guy. Oh, pardon me. So this band comes in, and I don't remember if they're wounded or if they're just passing through, but they stay at the camp for a while and they play for him, and he absolutely loves it. And he's just wild about it. He's having a great time because live music is not a thing that happens there. He has his limited selection of records, and that's it. And so they take off later, and later in the episode, another shipment of people comes in, like the choppers come in, and they're among them. Like the truck they were in got hit. And so a lot of them didn't make it, and some of them are heavily wounded. And so he operates on one or two of them, and then he goes back to his tent and plays one of the records that has one of the songs they played. And after a few seconds of it playing, he just stops it, takes the record and smashes it, and just has a quiet moment to himself. And I thought it was a very, very powerful moment for the show, because a lot of times I feel like the show can have strong moments, but sometimes some of them are dramatic moments kind of whiff. But I thought that was a fantastically done show for one of the characters who usually isn't that lighthearted to begin with. I thought it was a very impactful moment.
And that was specifically with Charles Winchester.
That was specifically with Charles Winchester. Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. Nice. Are there highlight videos of him on YouTube?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were, honestly.
Okay.
It, although who knows, since the show's running. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there are a lot of those for a lot of bit characters and shows, so I'm actually gonna do a quick search.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, Best of Charles Emerson Winchester from MASH Part 1. So
Whoa. That's awesome, man.
oh yeah, so
Yeah.
that was when you brought up favorite MASH characters, he popped into my mind immediately. There are a lot of really cool characters in the show who come and go, but he stuck with me. I very much enjoyed his performance.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, you know, definitely for everyone who hasn't seen MASH, you can watch it on Hulu. It's streaming on Hulu. So, and don't give up on it after season 1. You can stick with it. And as Nick's been saying, there's some cool characters that come in later. Charles Winchester comes in later. Colonel Potter comes in later. So there's some really cool characters that come in the show later. So stick with it and you will be rewarded. Cool. All my 3 characters are from season 1 because that's as far as I got. My number 1 is Colonel Blake.
All right. I'm yeah, why do you like Colonel Blake so much?
I think he's really funny.
All right.
There's like an innocence about him.
Mhm.
Like there is an innocence and kind of aloofness to him that you don't get from everyone. So there's an innocence, and if you've seen Mary Tower Moore, have you?
I have not.
Okay. The Ted Baxter character, who's the weatherman, there's a similar quality that Ted Baxter brings that you get from Colonel Blake and MASH. That's very, very likable. That's very kind of genuine, and they're just being themselves. And you just have to kind of trust it. And they're just kind of doing it. And there's an innocence, but they're also really funny. So there's an innocence. They're trying their best. They're very funny. Where there's other characters like Hawkeye who you're like, he should know better. So okay. So you like hold him accountable, but with Colonel Blake, it's like, yeah, he's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious to know your thoughts later on in the story, and I'm sorry for already giving away the fact that he, isn't there by the finale. Like, he gave that away immediately before even asking about spoilers.
Oh wow. All right.
My bad.
That's okay. You said Colonel Potter's really great, so you get to love him too.
Mm-hmm. One line that I enjoy from Colonel Potter is when he and Radar, I think it's just in the very beginning of an episode, they're sitting on top of a ridge just early in the morning, and Colonel Potter is smoking a cigar, and he offers one to Radar, and Radar says, I don't know, I've heard they're habit forming, or I heard they're addictive. And Colonel Potter looks at him and says, nonsense. I fall down every morning 12 years for the last 12 years of my life. Never formed a habit. Radar says, oh, all right then. I don't know why that particular line stuck with me, but that got a laugh out of me.
Oh boy. Um, 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 yeah, cool. Uh, no, it's really funny. I should really check out more Colonel Potter because he's awesome and he sounds awesome and he sounds really funny. I
Mhm.
should definitely check him out. Yeah. Okay. Any honorable mentions for MASH characters?
Let's see. Hmm. I mean, overall, it's a really good cast.
Okay.
I feel bad because the honorable mentions that I have uh, are for the most part. I feel like there are a few characters who I'm just not really that big a fan of, and two of those are uh, Trapper and Honeycutt.
Ooh.
Who Trapper is Hawkeye's right hand man in the beginning, and he transfers out, and then Honeycutt joins on, and unfortunately, I could not tell you the difference between the two. So I like them as characters. They work really well, and I think between the two of them, Honeycutt, the second one, is a lot stronger because he gets a lot more moments where he like talks about his family and how he misses them, and it leads to some nice dramatic moments for him later. Um, take note of the fact that I said I couldn't tell you the difference between the two of them, and then immediately told you a difference between the two of them. But point being, for the most part, they fall very well in line of like, oh, this is Hawkeye's buddy, this is Hawkeye's right hand guy, and then the other comes in and he's like, oh, this is also, he serves the same basic function within the story. Whereas when you have the replacement for Frank Burns, it's a completely different guy. He's not a love interest to Houlihan. He doesn't suck up to the commanding officer or anything. He has his own different dynamic within the group. Similarly, you have Blake and Potter. Two different commanding officers, but they have two very different styles, two very different groups of relationships to all the different workers. So I don't know. I felt like Honeycutt and Trapper were maybe a little too similar, but overall, it's got such a memorable cast and it ran for so long. It's Yeah, they did a great job writing everyone out with like Klinger, Radar, Houlihan, Father Mulcahy. Uh, you have Hawkeye and Potter, Blake, Burns, Winchester. Everyone. It's a solid show.
It sounds like it stayed solid over time too. Like even with
Hmm.
that many replacements or that many, I don't want to use the word replacement, that many new characters. Like the show just kind of grew. So um it just evolved and grew and new characters. So it's awesome that they were all really solid. And that's great.
Hmm.
Um did the scope of the show change?
Overall, the show stays pretty static in terms of scope. They sometimes go off base, but I get the impression that it stayed fairly similar just in terms of where everyone was. They have a few bottle episodes, like the one I mentioned, where they get stranded when the truck breaks down or the bus breaks down. But for the most part, they have some episodes where they go off location, but it's never for more than an episode. It stays fairly isolated.
Um, um, gotcha. Do you think they should have gone off location more?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like for purposes of the show, it works pretty well. I don't think it was ever really wanting for, more of an expansive setting. I
Mm.
feel like overall, in terms of just what you can do with the setting itself and the war and the events that occurred within it, I think it ran a good course without ever feeling too secluded or too bottled up.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. The show dynamics seem like they work really well. Kind of like the formula they're going for works really well. So, like, I feel like what the show did, it did it very well. And then they bring in new characters, which is excellent. And the show evolves and like camaraderie changes, fresh characters, new characters, show changes. That's good. Uh, mm, um, if they reboot it, maybe have them go more places. Yeah.
Hmm.
Which war would they be in though? That's a good question.
Oh yeah, honestly, because and I'm not sure if you wanted to touch on the note you said earlier of a reboot of MASH.
Yeah. Um. Uh, let's see. So it is Vietnam, right?
No, it's Korea.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
uh, for yeah. Sorry. Okay. Um. Maybe they could reboot it as Vietnam. A little bit of an update, which I think would work.
Hmm.
There you go. Even
Yeah.
though not a lot of people touch Vietnam projects anymore. They're not that popular anymore.
Hmm. I don't. I
Um,
feel. Sorry.
oh no. It's a really sensitive topic, so I understand why people wouldn't touch it. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, I'm curious if doing something with Iraq or Afghanistan would quite work. It would be a huge change in terms of just. I mean, that would be a huge jump forward, and I'm not sure if how because I know for the most part, like things about war are fairly, you can rub a lot of people the wrong way. So I'm very curious how making a sitcom about the Korean War would go differently than making a sitcom about like Iraq or Afghanistan, and people would be like, you guys can't joke about this. This is in bad taste. Whereas back,
Yeah.
back for MASH, everyone said we were making the same jokes 40 years ago. Oh no, we were making the same jokes at least 50 years ago. That's way further back than I thought. Oh no. Um, but I'm genuinely curious how an attempt like that would go over if people would just immediately hit it with the red light and say, "Oh yeah, guys, people are a little tender about this."
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're ready for it. I don't think it should happen. Maybe not ever, honestly. Maybe reboot it as a different type of show. It could still be MASH, but maybe not. Or maybe they're not at war. Like maybe it's just like a war recovery facility or something. Like there's no actual war going on.
Hmm.
Um, they could retool it to make it uh watchable uh and agreeable with the times and not necessarily PC, but just like you know in good taste. um
Hmm.
yeah, so I agree they shouldn't do anything about current war because I think
Okay.
that, yeah, they, they shouldn't. Okay. um oh um but it is rebootable. And it's really funny.
Yeah, it is a solid show.
I definitely see why it was so beloved and so many people liked it. I never watched Hogan's Heroes. Did you ever see that one?
I never watched Hogan's Heroes, honestly. I've seen maybe an episode.
Okay. Because I feel like that was a wartime show too.
And that's now, when was Hogan's Heroes made? Because I was under the impression that MASH was made at kind of a similar time to the Korean War, but I might be wrong.
MASH was late 60s, right? I think.
Well, let me see.
Okay.
All right, 72 to 83.
Was MASH.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas the Korean War, wow, I was way off. For some reason, I thought they were similar in times in like time span, but the Korean War was 50 to 53.
So MASH would have been during Vietnam. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, aired during. Oof.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so I was not nearly close. Yeah, so I guess. I mean, hell, you could make a new MASH about the Gulf War, and that would actually be fairly. Wait. Oh God. You could make a MASH about us going to Iraq. That was 20 years ago. Oh no. Oh man. Ugh.
I think it's still too fresh.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. No. It's not a good idea.
All right. Yeah, fair point.
um.
Man. Huh.
Yeah. Oh, so when did Hogan's Heroes come out?
Oh, that's right. Let me check on that.
Okay.
Ooh. That was 1965. So yeah, I guess there's a 20-year kind of statute of limitations on making TV shows about war. Because you have it
Oh.
ends in 53 and then starts in 72. So that's about a 19-year gap. Hogan's Heroes airs in 65, so that's 20 years after World War II. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
But I never ended up watching much of it. And maybe it's because I didn't know much about it until I was already into MASH, and I thought, well, I've already kind of got one I have one of these kinds of wartime sitcoms. I guess I don't really need another, and I sort of avoided it. I didn't want to pigeonhole myself, so.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. No, I should definitely check out Hogan's Heroes at some point. I've probably seen an episode or two in passing. No, but MASH is a good time for everyone listening and watching. Check out MASH. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. If you're really sensitive to war stuff, I guess don't watch it. But it's an innocent enough show. It's pretty lighthearted, even though like some of the topics are really heavy. So go into it knowing that. Okay. Nick, do you have any closing remarks for MASH?
I don't know what the not half-life, but how long a sitcom can be around before it kind of goes stale. Because MASH ran for 11 years, which is a healthy runtime for a sitcom, especially something that you'd figure a sitcom in a war hospital might not land, but I feel like it did very well, and to do that well for 11 years really speaks to the strength of the show. I feel like a lot of other shows try to do more with less than that. So honestly, even if a lot of people, may, I guess, have some issue with the writing in later seasons or earlier seasons, I still look at it very fondly as a show. So yeah, I would recommend it as if anyone's looking for kind of a TV land sitcom to binge. It's very high up on my list.
Yeah. I don't think anyone will get like nightmares from it or anything like that. If you watch some of Jared Leto's stuff, you might, but if you just watch MASH, you're probably fine. So you probably won't get any nightmares. No, but watch everything Jared Leto. If it's Jared Leto, watch it. If it's MASH, watch it. As Nick has said, the later seasons of MASH, the show gets really different in terms of like characters and cast, but it's still a great show and it still holds up really well. Yeah. So check out MASH, check out Jared Leto. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good night.